starting to figure out more and more the fallout of the Biden-Putin summit in Geneva earlier this week, and what we're finding is, in fact, all the speculation that Biden basically just kind of bent over and allowed Putin to stand behind him for about 90 minutes before a 45-minute break, and then immediately went back and assumed the position is somewhat accurate, especially if this is anything to go off of, and what we found out today. But first, this one's just hilarious in and of itself. Biden gave Putin a list of 16 critical infrastructure entities that must be off limit to cyber attacks. Oh my god. Has anybody trained like a pet or raised a kid, the little toddler or whatever, starts walking around and you say, okay, you can go anywhere you want in the house, so that's fine. But there's this one cabinet that's up there that you're not allowed to go into or ask any questions about. Just that one's off limits, okay? Where does that kid, if they've got the entire house to roam about, where is the one place that they want to look? The place that they tell you is off limits, obviously. Buy a little cat, buy a little dog, all the toys in the world, and what do they want to do? I don't know, just claw up your sofa. This is so fucking retarded, but let's see what Joe's up to. President Joe Biden told reporters Wednesday he gave Russian President Vladimir Putin a list of 16 critical infrastructure entities that must be off limits to cyber attacks, and hinted at major retaliation from the United States should Russia allow continued malign activity in the sphere. Again, how can you trace it back there? You've just made these wild accusations for years and years at this point. And what? Oh, you're going to face a lot of pushback, Putin, if you are going to come after us again. Yeah, I'm sure he took that threat super serious. Biden speaking ahead of the press conference following a slate of bilateral meetings with Putin and Russian officials claimed the topic of cybersecurity was included in a discussion on establishing a mechanism for strategic stability. I talked about the position that certain critical infrastructure should be off limits to attack, period, by cyber or any other means. Yeah, physically going in there with a fucking crowbar, Gordon Freeman style. Yeah, I don't fucking think so. But are you going off the democratic definition of infrastructure? Things like, hey, Putin, you're not allowed to hack our Steam account at the White House. You're not allowed to go in there, and you can't use my Netflix account, and 14 other things I can't quite think of at the moment. Like, is that what they're calling critical infrastructure? Okay. Oh, but it's supposed to be as vague as anything from the energy sector to our water system. Cool. So if you're just sitting home one day and your toilet starts to back up for no good reason, you can just go, Russia's at it again. They're hacking our fucking wastewater system. Whatever. Biden hammered the need for the two countries to take action against criminals that conduct ransomware activity on their territory. Yeah, go after the criminals themselves, okay? If they work for the government, like, say, I don't know, Hamas or maybe Hezbollah, if you go and take a look at those guys over there just banging away on their stone computers, and those are the actual terrorists out there. You should probably be trying to hold those guys accountable, not just, this took place in Russia. Can you provide any receipts? No, it's Russian hacking, obviously, 100%. Fuck off. We'll find out whether we have a security arrangement that begins to bring some order, Biden later added in his remarks. I looked at him, I said, how do you feel if ransomware took on your pipelines from your oil field? He said, it would matter. And this is not about our self-interest. And he also said, you're stupid enough to have remote controls for your major pipelines? What are you, fucking stupid? But yeah, this is so dumb. So very, very dumb. But not quite as befuddling as this little development. This dropped earlier today. Biden White House halted Ukraine military aid ahead of Putin meeting. And that just dropped today, okay? So, they were slated to give Ukraine 9 digits in military aid. Then Biden met with Putin. Then that military aid to Ukraine, which has been a target of Russia for, oh my god, big old long time, ever since they broke off of the Soviet bloc. So, what the fuck is this all about? Remember, this was the foundation, for all intents and purposes, of why Trump was impeached the first time, okay? They couldn't prove any of this, but we have the fucking evidence right here. But let's see how in-depth it got. President Joe Biden's administration ordered a freeze on the shipment of military aid to Ukraine. That included lethal weapons ahead of a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Politico reported today, Friday. The reported freeze prevents a shipment of roughly $100 million in military aid. Biden's National Security Council had ordered officials to put together the aid earlier this year when Russia was amassing troops on its border with Ukraine. Why would that change all of a sudden? That's a little bit weird. Biden met with Putin Wednesday in Geneva, Switzerland, where he confirmed that he had discussed Ukraine and did not announce that he had froze the aid at that time. Weird. Yeah, you wouldn't want that to leak out beforehand after, you guys set up the summit and everything, and perhaps it was one of the conditions of meeting this stuff, and then he'd say, no, don't worry, I'll keep my hands off 16 important infrastructure. Whatever you want to define as infrastructure, my friend. Going forward, we can do little go-between. Just like how Barry in his final year when he came over met with my prime minister and said I'll have more flexibility after I leave office. Nothing fucking shady could possibly happen, right, comrade? Biden invited Ukrainian Prime Minister Volodymyr Zelensky to the White House later this summer. While a date was not yet announced, I'd imagine he's going to have a tough time making his way over because he very much needs that $100 million. The aid freeze came in reaction to the announcement from Russia that it would de-escalate its buildup of troops on the Ukrainian border, officials told Politico. Ukraine argues that there are still more than 100,000 Russian troops deployed near the border, however. So yeah, just because Putin says he's going to do something, why would you stop the military aid to them? That doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense. The dots just aren't connecting on this one. Relations between the U.S. and the Ukraine have been frosty in recent years as both recent administrations faced accusations of questionable dealings with or in the former Soviet nation. Yes, exactly. Biden had sought to push off talks with Zelensky for as long as possible, according to Politico, but he held his first call with the leader late spring. Ukraine had been a sore topic for Biden since his son, Hunter Biden. Yeah, exactly. And we need not delve back into that because I don't need to be redundant. We can actually keep a video under 20 minutes at this point. President Zelensky for the Ukraine, he's kind of been a failure. If you've just been watching this from afar, or maybe you don't really know. He moved in there as being one of the people's candidates. He ascended to the office from relative obscurity and has just kind of fumbled his position across his current tenure in office. Like it says here, former President Donald Trump had also had a cold relationship with Zelensky after being impeached for his phone call with the Ukrainian president in 2019. The Democrat-held House impeachment charges accused Trump of withholding military aid to Ukraine in exchange for political favors. Can you substantiate any of those? Nah, it was just like the second impeachment process, including investigating the Biden family's dealings. It's weird how more time passes, all of the accusations to Republicans out there, it just always comes back to being pure projection. Something fishy's going on in the Ukraine. This is just one of those things that just kind of leaked a little bit. Is there something more behind this? Perhaps. We're just living in the aftermath of the past couple of days after this meeting disaster, whatever you want to call it, that happened. And Biden really hasn't been questioned about it since returning home. No, he's just signed in a new holiday and everybody's clapping for various different reasons because, he acknowledged racism. Yes, it's also another day that ends in Y. That's his entire shtick at this point. But yeah, other than that, I think Biden went off to Delaware for the weekend because it's been a big, busy trip for the old boy, so he needs to rest and recover over the weekend to, further fuck up the country going forward. But one place that's going to be definitely 100% under new leadership come the new year is New York City. And they're in desperate need of it because there are two horrific crimes that really took place in relative obscurity, but at least the New York Post was covering it. So if you're interested in a couple of obscure crime stories that are rather disturbing, at least from my perspective, feel free to stick around. Other than that, I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. We'll catch y'all later.